I hope you're having a good day. So I'm going to be talking mostly about the menstrual cycle today, but in particular the 1 week of your menstrual cycle that, from what I've seen, gives women most of the problems. And that is the last week of your cycle, the days leading up to when you get your period and when you actually have your period. And I think this is a super important conversation to have because it's a conversation that majority of people aren't having. And the reality of it is that the more you educate yourself, the more you understand how your body works, the better you're going to be able to make changes around that, and then ultimately you're going to be able to feel better overall because you're just going to have more control and more knowledge, and that's always a good thing. So some of the common issues that I have talked with a lot of my female clients about over the last few years, I've wrote a list of them there in the text, but basically some of the main things that you're experiencing in the last week of your cycle are just as you're getting your period, you're getting a lot of sugar and carb cravings for anything basically unhealthy like crisps or chocolate or whatever your kind of like go-to like binge foods are. You're basically for a lot of the time eating everything in sight. A lot more snacking than normal. You're also experiencing low motivation levels. So then obviously low motivation, you're gonna find it a lot more difficult to stick to your training plan or exercising on those days. You're feeling a lot more fatigued, which combined with low motivation makes it even harder to get training done on the days that you want to train. Lower energy levels. You're experiencing more mood swings, so you're just not feeling as good overall as usual. A lot of the time it's very common to experience aching, like full body aching, or maybe abdominal pain or pain in different areas, especially around when you get your period. And this is called PMS, so premenstrual syndrome. And basically a lot of studies have been done on PMS, and something simple that has been shown to be really effective is actually to increase the amount of B vitamins you're getting. B6 in particular has shown to have a lot of benefits for women who experience pain during PMS. Obviously cramps as well around your period, getting lower back pain, and then a lot of bloating as well. And they're just, 9-10 different common issues that I've seen with a lot of my clients that we openly talk about. And that's some of the things that can make it extremely difficult in the last week of your cycle to stay on track, because obviously, if you've, let's say, been following a training plan for 3 weeks and you've been feeling pretty good, but then you get to the last part of your cycle, you can start to beat yourself up and feel guilty and be saying to yourself, oh, why am I feeling so crap? Why am I, not training? Why am I not able to get done what I've been getting done the last few weeks? And it's really important to realize that this is just a normal part of your cycle, and instead of beating yourself up about, maybe not as being as productive with your training or getting as much exercise done, instead of beating yourself up about that, the best thing to do is to actually change and pivot around so that you're working with your body, not against it. And that's a super important thing, I think, to talk about and to discuss, because what I've seen over the last few years is that a lot of women do beat themselves up about, not being as productive or not getting training done, and then just not feeling it as good in general. So instead of beating yourself up about it, the best thing to do is, instead of putting pressure on yourself to get, let's say, 45-minute exercise sessions done per week, instead of doing those, we'll implement what's called a deload. So you basically take your 45-minute session and you slash it in half, and you just do 50%. So it could be just like 10 minutes of stretching and then 10 or 15 minutes of working out. And that way, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get your training done and still feel good about it. And it's going to just make it that bit easier, because obviously when you have low motivation levels, when you have low energy, when your body is aching and more fatigued, it is just so much more difficult. So if we make it really easy and just say, okay, well, literally just 10 minutes of stretching, 10 or 15 minutes of a really easy workout, at least that way, you're getting some blood flowing, mentally you're getting some headspace, and then overall you're just going to feel better for getting that little bit done. So it's really important to make those small changes around, especially at the end of your cycle, so that you can keep the momentum going and keep feeling good about it. And then moving on to food, because obviously when you're experiencing a lot of sugar and carb cravings, or you're going a lot for like crisps or chocolate, and you just you're doing a lot more snacking than normal, what we need to do is focus on what's actually going to give you energy. and what's going to make you feel good. And that's always going to be sticking to foods that are more protein and fat based to keep your energy levels more stable across the day. Because if you just have a lot of carbohydrates, it feels good for a few minutes, but then you feel guilty afterwards, and then it gives you a sugar spike for a little bit, and then you get a drop off in energy, and then you end up just not feeling good at all. So if we can try and keep the carbs to a minimum, so practical ways to do that. If you have a lot of crisps or chocolate in your press and you know you're getting towards the end of your cycle, just get rid of those out of your press so they're out of sight, out of mind. And then what, as I said, I'll get you to focus on is more protein and more fat-based food. So things like eggs, things like different meats, red meats, white meats, different types of fish, white fish, let's say cod, plaice, and then more red fish like salmon, more fatty fish, mackerel, sardines, different foods like that, like dark chocolate, avocado, and all the different types of foods that are high in protein and high in fat that are going to help keep your energy levels more stable so that you feel better overall. Because obviously, when you're in that last week of your cycle, and especially around when you get your period, if you do have a lot of carb cravings and you're not able to control that, and you don't have any protein or fat-based foods in your house, what's going to happen is instead of you being able to stick to your calories, you might actually eat way more than normal. And then that's basically, going to affect, it's going to cause you to put on a few extra pounds. It's going to cause you to feel more bloated. It's going to maybe affect your digestive system, so you're not feeling as good. And so then it's going to affect your overall calories, which then will affect the progress you're making if you have goals to, let's say toning up or, losing a couple of inches around your stomach or whatever your goals may be. So these are all really helpful practical solutions that I implement with my clients that I want to give to you so that you can just make it that little bit easier for yourself to get through that really difficult end part of your cycle or when you have your period. Because this is something that's going to happen regularly for probably the next few years for you, depending on how old you are, up until menopause. So it's really important to have some really simple practical solutions there to help you out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep it nice and condensed. I didn't want to ramble on for too long. So I hope that video was helpful. If it was, comment down below or send me a message on Facebook or wherever. You can also send me an email, elan@coachelan.com. And would love to get your feedback on it. What have your experiences been like with your menstrual cycle? Do you feel like this is a conversation that we need to have more of? And what's your education been like on it before up to this point? And also just a quick note, my next 28-day challenge is starting in Wednesday the 1st. So my next 28-day challenge is starting next Tuesday. I think it's the 6th or 7th of July. And if you are interested in that, feel free to drop me a message and I can send you over the details. And I have spaces for my 8-week transformation where you'll actually get to work with me one-to-one each week. We'll do a 30-minute call. You'll get custom training plans, custom nutrition plans. And I basically have 3 spaces left for my 8-week transformation. So if you'd like to get a free consultation so we can have a chat about that for your goals, just drop me a message and I'll send you over the details. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you again soon.